Good evening. I'd like to welcome everybody to this meeting of the Rockingham County Board of Commissioners. I'd like to start off by thanking the big town of Mayodan for hosting us. It's nice to be back over here, and we appreciate your consideration and help in setting up this meeting as part of our Get the Word Out program. And glad to see a lot of local folks here from the Madison-Mayodan area that I know. So thank you for being there. In a moment, I'm going to ask Lance Metzler to deliver our invocation, followed by our Pledge of Allegiance. And tonight, Commissioner Berger will be introducing our extraordinary student from this county that's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you would stand and remain standing through all of those.
If you would, please bow your head and join me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for all your gifts and wisdom that you give to us to make good decisions on behalf of our populace of Rockingham County. Please help us to turn to you and search for answers so that when decisions are made, they're made for what is pleasing to you. Look after our Board of Commissioners and our staff to provide the leadership that you have asked them to do on your behalf, and help our board make decisions that will make positive impacts to our community. We ask that you bless us, look over us, and give us strength to lead with honesty and integrity. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I want to welcome Miss Annabeth Gross. Her mother is one of our folks in finance. Annabeth is 4 years old and attends preschool at Educare Academy. So if everyone would please face the flag. Miss Annabeth.
Go for it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well done, Annabeth. A little bit of housekeeping. This desk up here will serve as our podium tonight, so if you're speaking or need to use the podium, go there. And the microphone, I'm advised, picks up all sounds. So be careful what you whisper out in the back there, and you don't have to point yourself at the mic or anything. It'll be taken care of by this unidirectional microphone. Gentlemen, you've had the agenda for almost 2 weeks now, and do we have any adjustments, or I would stand a motion in regards to approving the September 5th agenda?
Make a motion.
Motion made.
Second.
Second. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor indicate by the sound of aye. Aye. Those opposed by nay. Likewise, you've had the consent agenda. For those of you that are not familiar with consent agenda, these are generally non-controversial items. Sometimes we do move items from the consent agenda for wider discussion, but the consent agenda has been published here for a considerable period of time. If you do have questions, I would ask you to direct them to our county manager, Lance Metzler, and he'll be glad to do that. Regarding the consent agenda, do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Motion made. Second. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor indicate by the sound of aye. Aye. Those opposed by nay. Public comment tonight. But before we do the public comment.
Yes, sir, Mr. Sheriff. The public comment period should be for the purpose of allowing members of the public to present any matter pertaining to county business or items on the Board of Commissioners agenda. This period shall not serve as a forum for debate with the Board of Commissioners. Remarks shall be addressed directly to the Board of Commissioners and not to staff, the audience, or media. The chairperson shall open the public comment period. Any speaker who wishes to speak shall approach the podium and not speak from his or her seat. Each speaker shall clearly state his or her name and physical address when he or she approaches the podium. Any citizen shall be allotted 3 minutes. Citizens will be allowed to yield their time on a specific topic by utilizing one or more attendees' time. This will allow no more than 6 minutes. The total amount of time allotted for the public comment period is 30 minutes. Your time will be displayed on the monitor that's in front of the clerk over there. The time will start with 3 minutes unless yielded time is 6 minutes. You'll hear a beep at 1 minute to alert you to wrap up your comments. If you are to yield your time or time is yielded to you, then please let the chairman know in advance. Speakers appearing for the Board of Commissioners will not be allowed to campaign for public office, promote private business ventures, or use language of a personal nature which insults or demeans any person or which, when directed at a public official, is not related to his or her official duties. The Board of Commissioners may accept written comments in lieu of oral statements. Written statements can be delivered to the county manager's office. Mr. Chair?
Thank you. That said, Ms. Hayworth, you're the first person on our list tonight. Saw you bright and early. Thank you. If you'd come forward and retell us who you are and where you live.
I'm Cindy Hayworth. I live at 141 St. Andrews Drive in Stoneville, North Carolina. Good evening. Thank you for this time. I want to tell you a couple of things about me that you would have no reason to know. I am a member of the Rockingham County Planning Board. I've been on this board for 2 years. This is a volunteer board, and we receive a packet 2 weeks before every meeting, and we look at the cases that are coming for us. Some of us go out and visit the sites directly, but we use all of the tools that we have, the comprehensive plan, the UDO, information that we can get from the planning staff to help make the decisions that we make for the citizens of Rockingham County. Commissioner Barrow, at the last meeting, you asked a question about the qualifications of the planning board members. And the answer that you received, and actually the question and the answer both were a little bit insulting and dismissive to the board. You asked that your question and answer that you gave, the impression that the members were irrelevant. I received telephone calls myself, and every one of them said you were just thrown under the bus. I'd like to tell you about my qualifications. I'm not speaking for every person on the board, but this board collectively has 29 years of experience, most of them serving 2 terms, which is 6 years. So when I moved to Rockingham County 3 years ago, I brought 6 years of the City of Greensboro Planning Board, 4 years as chair. 6 years of the Greensboro Zoning Commission, 4 years as chair. 6 years on the City of Greensboro Board of Adjustments, 5 years as chair. 5 years on the Guilford County Planning Board, 3 years on the Guilford County Environmental Review Board, 3 years as chair. I never missed one meeting. I also received a recommendation from the American Planning Association for the Greensboro 2040 Comprehensive Plan. The Planning Board is a dedicated group of citizens that make decisions using the information provided by the Planning Department along with their many years of experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Hayworth. We appreciate you taking the time. Mr. Isley.
Doug Isley, 1790 Flat Rock Road, Reedsville, North Carolina. Gentlemen, welcome. Just got back. I say welcome. I just got back from the big city of Raleigh. We had a great news conference out on the front doorstep of the state legislature. It had a great turnout of media. Knocked on a few doors. Unfortunately, I didn't get to speak with some Senate members because they wouldn't come out and talk. But tonight, I just want to address the last meeting. Gentlemen, I know you all, and I've known you a long time. Y'all disappointed me last meeting. Yeah. You were disrespectful to the public. We've all had disagreements, and that's fine. But what I'm hearing from the community, you didn't disrespect just the speakers. You disrespected the community. And they took it that way. And they're watching, and they know that 2024 is just around the bend, and there's already names in the pot. So sharpen your pencils. Put some money in your bank account, because you're going to need it. Because the 91,500 people of Rockingham County, which not all are voters, but there's going to be a big outpour, folks. You disrespected the public. You disrespect me all you want, I don't care. But that was very rude the way y'all talked to the public. Each and every one of you took a shot. Talking about God can't hear you, I heard you, but God can't. Talking about planning board members. We're fortunate that, y'all know this, y'all appoint these people. We're fortunate that we've got people that are willing to stand up and serve. We need good people in the community. You're gonna run them all the way. We want our community to grow. We got a beautiful community. We want to keep it that way. Next thing, you pass the zoning. It's not over. Just want to let you know. Thank you, gentlemen.
Ms. Mangus?
Good evening. My name is Leanne Mangus. I live at 303 North 11th Avenue in Magadan. I appreciate this time. I didn't get to speak at the last meeting. There was a lot of people. I know that minds were already made up before the meeting, whether you're for it or against it or whatever. And I understand this might be a moot point, but I want my voice heard. I want to be able to look at my grandchildren and say, Nanny stuck up for you and the kids of this community. There's more to this issue about the casino than the dollar signs that you see and the lie of how much money a casino is going to bring in. We have a moral obligation to protect the kids of our county whose parents are going to be turned into an addict, a gambling addict. I know all about that because my dad suffered at the hands of a gambling addict. My grandfather bet on the ponies every week. He would think, today's the day, I'm gonna hit it big, but he never would. He would lose his money. He would come home furious, in a rage. He would beat my dad senseless, okay? He would use him as a punching bag till he was exhausted because he lost the money. One evening it got so bad he killed the cat because that was another mouth to feed. I understand that this may not affect you, but it affects people and it's going to affect little children in this community. It is. It's abuse, and it's at the hands of a gambling addict. And that, if we can't stop this casino from coming through the state legislature, is what is going to happen in Rockingham County. I don't believe that you've kept your noses clean, unfortunately, by only voting for land rezoning. Matthew 25:40 says, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these, my brethren, you have done it unto me. You failed our children. So if the casino opens, and when there is a spike in child abuse in Rockingham County, just know that you have the opportunity to protect those children, and you failed them. Thank you.
Mr. Allen?
Gentlemen, this brings me no pleasure, but the last meeting brought me no pleasure either. After coming off a trip to Raleigh today, I realized that most of our county decisions are coming from there. I previously thought our commissioners listened to the people electing them, but actions taken lately when 80% of the people only request a vote and they were unanimously denied, led me to ask the question, are we electing county commissioners or Theoberger puppets? If you are insulted, so are your constituents. If this was in the work for 20 years, as one of you said, why have 800 people come out to a done deal? You owe us that. It's time people stop looking at the labels and go with the contents. Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. That concludes our public comment section of tonight's meeting. Number 7 is Ronnie Tate, Director of Engineering and Public Utilities.
Good evening, gentlemen. I got one item for your consideration tonight, and it's for a request of a change to the current water and sewer policy, and it's regarding the allocation of utility capacity to major subdivisions. If you do choose to approve this tonight, I'd like to recommend it be placed in the water policy under section 28.1 and into the sewer policy under section 18.1. In looking at this, when I crafted the original version of it, after I did that, I had the county manager review it, the county attorney review it, the county planning staff, Hiram and Lynn, review it. Also, Commissioner Hall worked with us on it, and Facility and Grounds Committee reviewing it. And I also had Bill Lester's group with LKC Engineering look at it. And they looked at it 2 different ways. Bill and Stephen looked at it from the engineering point, but they also had one of their partners, Tim Carpenter, look at it because he does or handles a lot of their engineering work for developers. And so he looked at it from the standpoint if you were a developer looking at this. And he relayed back through Bill to me that he felt it was very fair, very generous in how we were approaching this and how it balances what we want, but also balances what a developer might want. And I can go through it or read through it, or I can just answer questions, however you want to go. So,
It hasn't changed since I last saw it, has it?
no, sir.
Okay. Gentlemen, questions for our chief engineer? Mr. Metzler?
Pretty much, I mean, it's all answered in the documentation you all have, so if you have any questions.
If you recommend it, stand ready for a motion to approve or disapprove.
Mr. Chair, I do have one question. So Ronnie, could you just, for the benefit of the public, explain, as far as when a developer is coming and requesting the capacity, how is it different than what we currently have in our ordinance?
Well, we don't have a mechanism in place now. They would come in and request it, and as long as we had it, we would allocate it to them. It's what we've done in the past. But we've seen it as a precious resource that it is. We're fortunate to be adding the sewer force main project on 220 to increase our sewer capacity. And we're seeing a lot of developments and growth in that area. So we want to just, we don't want to hand it all out at one time. We want to sort of hand it out as needed, let people develop that property. If they need more, we hand out more and do it like that. So, but we don't have it in currently as the policy is, we don't have a mechanism to regulate.
So basically, am I right in saying that this is essentially just trying to make sure that we don't get ahead of ourselves as far as what's available for water and sewer?
Exactly.
Thank you.
Other
Mr.
questions,
Chairman,
comments?
Mr. Chairman. Yeah, to kind of reiterate, I think the question and answer we're talking about is, let's assume we had a developer who wants to build 500 homes.
Mhm.
They're not going to build 500 homes in 1 year.
Exactly.
They may build 100 homes each year.
Right.
So in this scenario, you may consider phase 1 150 or 100 homes or 200 homes, and then they'd be able to apply later as they grow to get that other capacity. You're not promising capacity that is not going to be used,
Exactly.
and it would allow the system to grow along with the organic growth in the community.
Yeah. Once they get to the 51% completion of that phase, they can apply for their next allocation of capacity.
Thank you.
Motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion we accept the policy change as recommended.
Motion made, seconded. Further discussion, comment? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by the sound of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by nay.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Mr. Ronnie Tate. Sheriff Sam Page.
Good evening. I first want to say, Ronnie, I checked those parking lots and it's resurfaced, it looks great.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask Alan to come up, my administrator, my chief deputy, and he's going to help me on this matter. It's a request for drawing down funds from our federal forfeiture to replace 2 vehicles that need to be replaced for our detectives in the undercover capacity, and also replacements of some firearms, handguns, some Glock firearms for the special response team, and some associated equipment.
Mr. Morrow.
Commissioners, good evening. Hope everybody's doing well tonight. I'll go ahead and I'll speak to item A first, the appropriate insurance proceeds about replacing a vehicle that was wrecked this year, earlier in the year. One of our investigators was not the county, was not at fault. So once we got the insurance money that was appropriated, which was approximately $17,000, obviously that left a big gap. And so we began looking for a vehicle that was appropriate to fill that vehicle, which we've come to you tonight with a Dodge truck. It's basically a work truck, V6 engine. We did add, keyless entry and a receiving pitch on it, just to be utilized in the investigative division. So that's what that item is about there. Federal forfeiture funds, we'll be using approximately, we've been requesting $21,620 to add that on top of the $17,683 from insurance, for a total of about $35,000 to replace the wrecked vehicle with a 2023 Dodge Ram. So that is item A on the agenda. Would you like me to go into the rest of them, or just?
No, I'm gonna ask if there are questions on item A. Actually, 8A.
A is 2 vehicles, right?
No, this one.
Okay.
It's A and a half, because right below that is another vehicle. Yes, sir.
Yeah, but are you classifying that as B or A?
Yeah, you only spoke about the Dodge Ram truck.
Yes, I'm just sticking with A.
Is that all we need to deal with right now, the Dodge Ram truck?
It's up to you, Commissioners. If you want me to go ahead into B, I will.
I'd go on that one first and then take.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve
Second.
that one.
Okay. Dodge Ram truck, motion to approve. Second. Further discussion. Nobody was hurt in this one, was there? In the accident?
That's where they got, somebody turned into them and totaled out the car. Nobody, well, our guys were,
Your guys were
they
okay.
received treatment.
They were transferred to the hospital, we had some shoulder injuries, but they're full duty back at work.
Okay. I hope the Dodge Ram can absorb a lot of impact if it ever occurs again. Motion made, seconded, further discussion. Hearing none, all in favor indicate by the sound of aye. Aye. Those opposed by nay. Ram truck, now, Colonel.
Yes, sir. Commissioners, I'll move on to 8B and a half, as the manager alluded to. The first part of it is to appropriate federal forfeiture funds of $35,183 to purchase a 2023 Kia Sorento. And we do shop local when we try to do this, and we're going through Tri-City. And basically, we were wanting to replace a 2010 Ford Explorer, which has 177,000 miles on it. Obviously, it's a 2010 model, it's got some age on it. We're starting to see the maintenance issue arise and repairs on it. And so we were looking to replace it with the Kia. This took a little bit of time on it. Obviously, there's been some supply and demand issues, and so we've been shopping. We tried to see it, just trying to get an appropriate vehicle. And so that was what they gave us back as the approximate cost, $35,183. And that would be the cost of the vehicle and to upfit the vehicle with lights and sirens, radios, whatever would be appropriate for it. You may go ahead to the firearm section, or?
No.
I think we'll do each one.
Lance, we're 2 months into the budget. Was this discussed during the budget process?
No, sir.
Is it part of the capital improvement plan for vehicles?
No, sir.
No further questions.
And this is an additional vehicle to your normal fleet,
It would be replacing one of our existing.
replacing an existing vehicle.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Further questions?
Yes, Mr. Chair. You're replacing a vehicle. When was this vehicle scheduled to be replaced?
In 2010, we've had it since 2010, and with the new program, the Fleetio, we've actually been able to monitor what's going on with the vehicle. And so, as for an actual schedule today, to take it offline, I can't give you one for that. The money was there. It was not in the capital improvement plan. because but we will come before the commissioners with non-taxpayer money, in this case federal forfeiture, to try to alleviate, because there are limited funds that you all can allot for the vehicles to be replaced.
I've got some follow-up questions.
Commissioner Berger?
Do we have other vehicles that are not part of the capital improvement plan for vehicles?
Talking about in the budget?
Yes, sir. Why was this not addressed during the budget? We're only 2 months into a budget.
Right, correct. As I'd spoken earlier, as with the last few years, we've been allotted approximately 7 to 8 vehicles within the budget. Most of the time, we are replacing the taxpayer money, the frontline vehicles that are answering on patrol or civil, and then we rotate those vehicles out. And so we have done this in the past. We would approach the commissioners and the county manager about replacing the vehicles with federal forfeiture money.
Lance, how long have we had this capital improvement plan?
Years.
I'm curious, what vehicle did we replace? Did it have a catastrophic failure so that you couldn't anticipate what was happening here?
Right. Due to the age, the 2010, we have several vehicles in the investigative divisions where this vehicle would be going. And just as an example, another vehicle that we had looked at replacing with this one was a 2016 Kia, and it had 153,000 miles on it. And so we went with this one because it was the higher mileage vehicle and it was older. So a lot of the vehicles there, they do have in excess of 100,000 miles, but obviously we can't replace them each budget session or with all federal forfeiture money.
Go ahead, Mr. Allen.
At the time we were doing the budget and the budget talks, was the money in the federal forfeiture fund to cover these expenses?
I could speak to the amounts that were there as of June 30th. And as of June 30th, there was the $113,508.60 in federal forfeiture. Yes, sir.
Now, just for the public's knowledge and those who may watch this later on the computer, can you explain to me what federal forfeiture funds are?
Yes, sir. Basically, our federal forfeiture funds, we will assign officers assigned to the sheriff's office to work as TFOs, which are officers with either the DEA or Homeland Security. And once they go out and once they make prosecutions and dispositions of cases, if money is seized, in certain cases, it could be drug money, assets, vehicles of that sort, we get a portion of that back with the other agencies and jurisdictions that work alongside of that.
So just out of curiosity, if you know, and you may not, so that's fine. The money that's appropriated in this account now, how much of that would come from prosecutions that originated in Rockingham County, as crimes that were committed here, so to speak? I realize you have somebody assigned to a task force, so to speak, so all those agencies split that money. But is any of those prosecutions taking place in Rockingham County, or are they all in other jurisdictions, and we're splitting the money because we're a part of that task force?
Right. I wouldn't want to give you misinformation, so I could get that information for you.
Okay.
But I can't give that to you tonight.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I have one, it's more of a comment than a question. I understand this is not tapping into the regular budget. I fully appreciate that. And the way you prioritize. What I have some concern about is predictability. Not just with the sheriff's fleet, with the entire county fleet and other things that we expect to atrophy or break or what have to be replaced in the future. And I would be interested in what we can do to facilitate that rather than having the one-offs come like this.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. And
that's a comment. I'm not. You don't have to philosophize on that.
No, sir. And commissioners, all of you know that, like EMS and public safety, our vehicles undergo a lot of usage, sometimes extreme usage, and sometimes the vehicles do come up and start having more maintenance issues, and so that's what we come to you tonight.
That's my point exactly. We want to anticipate
Right.
so that you're not limping when you need to be running.
Correct. Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
And just for some further clarity, Lance, I believe in the past few years, we've had some requests shortly after the budget was adopted from DSS and also from Economic Development for vehicles. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And I believe we treated both of those identical as far as those two. Is that right?
As I recall, yes.
One more question, Alan. The person that's assigned to this task force, the county taxpayers pay that salary, right, and the related expense of that. But this federal forfeiture money, is it earmarked specifically for things? I mean, is there limits on what that can be spent for?
Yes, it can be used for training, equipment, and technology.
Okay, so really, in all,
We can't use it to supplement our budget.
right, the county taxpayers are on, they pay for the investigation that led to the forfeiture or the seizure, but that money can't be used to supplement salaries of that. It has to be used in other areas.
Mr. Chair, whenever they're done.
Okay.
The concern I've got is, and I think Commissioner Berger brought it up, we're 60 days into the new year. We're asking for a vehicle that is not on the capital improvement schedule. We don't know when it was on the schedule to be replaced. And you mentioned there are other vehicles that you're concerned about, so I'm kind of concerned that maybe we need to reevaluate that capital replacement or capital improvement plan, because evidently something's not working. I mean, like I said, we're 60 days in, and we've already found this issue. How many more out there that would need to be looked at and considered? I'm just, don't need a response, that's a concern that I've got.
Mr. Chair, I have a question. This is just to put a little finer point on what Charlie was saying. With the capital plan that we have, are the sheriff office vehicles involved with that plan?
They are.
Yes.
So where are we missing the boat here? I'm not sure.
Normally,
Whoever wants to put it out.
Normally, once we start the budget process, we do look to replace the first line vehicles first. Patrol usually is our first line vehicles. Normally in the budget year, we replace approximately 7 to 8, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. County Manager. And normally they will be patrol vehicles that are assigned to patrol. A lot of years we'll get one animal control truck and maybe one detention vehicle and one investigative vehicle. And so they are on that rotation, that process. And I would go to speak, these vehicles are in our narcotics division, these particular vehicles. And so they do try to rotate among them sometimes for obvious reasons. They're in undercover capacity. And so that's the reason in the capital improvement plan, we put those vehicles first. Because the men and women that are out here answering the calls, we want them to be in the most appropriate vehicles to respond to the citizens of the county.
And Colonel, I have one follow-up question because I don't have it in front of me.
Yes, sir.
One, do you know how many vehicles you guys requested in the budget this year?
Without having that in my front of me, I can't answer that.
Okay, and then secondly, do you know when this vehicle is up for the capital plan?
No, sir. I don't know.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, I've got one more question.
Go ahead.
This is for our manager. Haven't we in the past, when vehicles were on the schedule to be replaced them a little bit early? For example, I don't know if it was a year or two ago, I seem to remember it was like March, that folks came to us and said, we have vehicles we need to go ahead and replace. We say, okay, they're on the schedule for next year anyway. So we went ahead and replaced them earlier, and it was just a matter of one tax year or another, and it was already late in the budget year. Am I right to remember that?
We try to replace them as per the schedule. It's, obviously we utilize the vehicles till they're almost worn out.
Well, we had done it a couple of months early. That was kind of my point.
As I recall.
But without knowing the schedule of this, I'm more concerned.
Yeah, like I said, it's one of our oldest vehicles, a 2010, that we had back in the narcotics division. And so, and again, there's a couple vehicles, as I mentioned earlier, that 153,000 miles, 177. So basically, when we looked at it, it was the oldest one back there still in the investigation.
You're making the point that I'm concerned about. Maybe we need to reevaluate this capital improvement plan and make some adjustments there to get these other vehicles on that plan as well. Mr. Chair, I'm done.
You're done? I guess the bottom line is the unpredictability makes some of us uncomfortable, at least me. I'm not trying to speak to the other guy. And there seems like to be an inherent unknown in there because you don't know when certain vehicles are going to quit on you. So we're just trying to avoid that unknown as much as we can, or at least I am.
We appreciate this, Mr. Chair. And I also want to treat all the departments the same. I mean,
Yes.
We handled the other departments the exact same way within the past couple of years.
Just quick, Alan, do you think it could last until June, or is it?
Just as the chair spoke to unpredictability, I can't say that it would or it wouldn't, Mr. Mayor.
We're 2
I'd
months
be
into
very
the budget.
suspicious if Sorrento went bad, though. Go ahead.
We're 2 months into the budget. I mean, we treated the other departments the exact same way. So I'd
What
make a
would
motion to
what would we
deny.
do with the other departments? Excuse me.
We denied them.
We denied?
Yep.
But that was coming out of our
That
house.
was the motion he just made. He wasn't asking, I don't think he was asking a question.
I answered the question too. We denied those two.
I didn't take that to be a motion. Is it?
Well, I'd made a motion as well, yes, sir.
Okay. Motion made to deny.
Mr. Chair, I'll second.
Motion made, seconded. Further discussion, further inquiries. Comment. All those in favor of the motion indicate by the sound of aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by nay. We're going to have to readdress it in the future, is what it sounds like.
Okay, thank you.
Holsters and pistols.
Okay, all right, we'll move on to 8B, Mr. Chair. We come to you today to request funding from the federal forfeiture money in the amount of $18,610. And this would be to replace the special response team's pistols, the Glock 17s that they have now currently. We normally replace these, try to do it approximately every 5 years for the special response team, due basically to the amount of training hours that they have and the number of rounds that are put through the pistols. The 20 pistols that the request is for would replace those, along with the equipment that goes with them, the holsters, paddle holsters for the investigators, the patrol division, whichever division that the employees were assigned to. At this point, they approximately have about 25,000 rounds through these pistols. We try to keep them on the special response team rotation because we do not want to see malfunctions or accuracy issues as they're shot.
Do you inspect the barrels?
I don't expect them. I don't want to see loss of accuracy, that's for sure.
No, I don't want to see loss of accuracy. I just think 5,000 rounds a year.
Right. Just in comparison, our special response team, this 5-year span, approximately 25,000 rounds has been shot through the firearms. And so, which equates to about 5,000 rounds a year.
Oh, I'm not qualified to evaluate.
Oh, no,
But-
I was just going to say.
But I've got a shotgun at home that's had at least 10,000 rounds
Right.
through it, and it looks brand new on the inside.
Correct.
Okay, I've got a question.
Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. I'm just wondering, we're looking at 20 handguns, but then we're looking at 35 or however many holsters. So the holsters don't match the guns. I'm just wondering why the difference? Does one wear out quicker than the other, or?
There's different style holsters because we have members of the special response team assigned to patrol, the detective division, administrative division, and that's the reason for the differences in holsters and the differences in prices.
Okay, thank you.
So in other words, if they're on the SRT response, their holster may be different than the holster they carry on duty every day, so that would make up the difference.
Yes.
Some of you are actually ordering 2 holsters for the same person.
Absolutely.
I understand.
Well, I mean, obviously, maybe it's not obvious, but we do not have a capital improvement plan for holsters and firearms.
Yes, sir.
But it is 2 months into the budget, and I understand that this, although you classify it as non-taxpayer money, it is generated through taxpayer resources, and there's a statute that directs that approval come to the commissioners for the very purpose of protecting the taxpayer. So, I've got to ask the question why this was not brought up during the budget process.
The last time, and I'm not going to speak to last time, but normally when we do make the purchase of new firearms, we do not include them, and correct me if I'm wrong, county manager, into the capital improvement. I think they've always come out of federal forfeiture when we decided to try to replace the firearms.
What happens to the 20 that are going out of service?
We get a credit for them, and they go to the firearms distributor. And so that reflected number of 18,610 takes into account the trade-in.
Yeah, just to clarify, I think Commissioner Berger's question was not regarding the capital improvement, but why was this not in the budget, included in the sheriff's budget for this year?
Or at least in discussions that, hey, we've got this coming up, because that certainly helps plan for what we're doing as we move along the fiscal year.
And just for clarification, I spoke to John Peters, who's the head of the special response team this afternoon, and he mentioned how the current pistols, they're going out of style and they're not functioning as good as they used to. So he begged that you all can highly consider that they be replaced. They should be in the budget process on an annual basis, though.
Or at least discussed. I
Yes.
mean, that's the disturbing part, is there's no discussion about what's needed within a department when we get to the budget process. And for that to be left out is disturbing, especially 2 months into the year. I mean, we understand things pop up through the year, but we're pretty new into this budget.
Alan, is there, the 25,000 rounds, is that kind of you guys' threshold where you're going to start looking at replacing guns, or is there something out there that says this is where we should do it, or you starting to experience problems with them, or what? 'Cause
The special response team, we go by NTOA, which is the National Tactical Officers Association, when it comes to the recommendation for policies and procedures. And that's what we try to follow when it comes to training hours, training and everything. And part of that is, the recommendation is 150 hours of training per year for the special response team.
Right.
Last fiscal year, we had 139 hours. And with those recommendations being pushed down to us, that entails more use of firearms.
Sure.
And so, and those standards change yearly sometimes. And so that's what we try to stay in line with. And as for the capital improvement plan, I hate to go historically, but historically, we had not put them in the capital improvement plan. And, if that's something for consideration, obviously, that's where we'll do, Mr. Chairman.
I just want to clarify so we're all on the same page. We are not requesting the firearms be put in the capital improvement plan.
No, sir.
We're speaking strictly for the budget request.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Okay.
So the rounds, I appreciate the hours and everything, but the rounds, is there some mechanism out there where you guys decide that it's time to replace them?
Again, with the special response team, we try to look at those approximately every 5 years.
5 years.
Because you have to start replacing springs, guide rods,
That's right.
and things of that nature.
Okay.
And we have armorers there that we try to keep them on a maintenance schedule to make sure that we're doing everything we can preventative to make sure that they continue to function efficiently.
And are you experiencing failures with these guns now? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
We're starting to have to replace some parts on them, yes.
Okay.
And as a comparison, you're talking 25,000 rounds in 5 years. If you take an average patrol gun, they're probably getting approximately 200 rounds a year, where the special response team guns are being fired 5,000 times a year.
I do understand.
Yes, sir.
You've been there.
Yes, sir.
You've been through that. So.
Well, I'm just kind of curious for my own knowledge. That works out to be 418 rounds a month. How often do these guys qualify, and what's your qualification?
The special response team, all officers have to qualify minimum once a year, daytime qualification, nighttime qualification, and combat course. The special response team, in an attempt to meet the 150 recommended training hours each year. They're trained once a month, and then they have additional train-ups. It could be 2 days, 3 days.
Mr. Chairman,
I was just curious, but as a comparison point, I spent most of my life having to remain qualified, and I qualified once a year. I got 50 practice rounds and 50 for qualification. And I don't know if I was any good or any worse than you guys. It just seems like a lot of rounds.
And again, it's an attempt to meet the standard.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna make a motion to approve this request.
I'll second.
Motion made, seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by the sound of aye.
Aye.
And thank you, guys. I learned a lot about.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
By the way, when we authorize service pistols for retiring folks for $1,
Yes, sir.
they get the new ones or the old ones?
They get their service with
The one they're wearing at the time.
Yeah, what's the sign?
Okay.
When we retire their dogs, it's $1.
Well, I don't know any of them that can afford 25,000 rounds, so it's got to be an
Thank you,
expensive
gentlemen.
bill.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you.
That was an education. New business, Mr. Manager.
Yes, sir.
Commissioners, new business. Hearing none. We'll go to Commissioner comments, item 10, with Commissioner Houston Barrow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. We appreciate you being here. Thank you, everyone who's watching at home. We're here in the fall of the year, so go out and support your local high school football teams. And also, we have the fall festivals coming up. We'll have the What the Hay Festival coming up soon here in Mayodan, but coming up on the 15th and 16th of September. We have the Riverfest in Eden, so everybody make sure you get around to each municipality and have a good time at their fall festivals. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Berger.
I want to thank the town of Mayodan for setting everything up and hosting us tonight. Had to give your council member Lake at this point, if I'm not mistaken. I know Mr. Lake has held a couple of different roles here in the town, but I had to give him a hard time serving as town attorney or assistant town attorney for a number of years. I never had an assigned parking place until tonight. But certainly appreciate the hospitality with the town of Mayodan, and thank everyone for coming out.
Commissioner Don Powell.
So I want to tell you that the Youth Outdoor Day this year will be September the 30th. It'll be at the Reedsville Police Lake Firing Grounds. It looks like it's going to be a big time. We've got the Turkey Federation coming, the Trappers Association coming. May have some of these celebrities on TV that hunt that you watch on Saturday mornings if you like to hunt. Wildlife will be there, so we'll have kids be fishing. They'll have the opportunity to shoot .22s. There'll be some gun giveaways there. And we're having a pig picking. So if you're not interested in any of the above, but you like to eat, you can still come out and eat with us, and that'd be perfectly fine. It's free of charge to the public. We hope that you'll come down. We may even put you to work while you're down there, but it will be a huge day. We just did the Youth Day on the river, and that was a big success too. And we look forward to working with the kids and showing them something besides the telephone. There's a lot out here to do in Rockingham County and our rural area, and we want to teach them how to take advantage of that. So that'll be September the 30th, and you can go on the county's website. That should appear within the next 5 to 7 days, and take a look at that and make plans to come and join us, and we would appreciate you supporting that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Powell. Commissioner Hall.
Yes, sir, thank you. Well, again, I'd like to also thank the leadership in Mayodan. We appreciate your hospitality tonight. I'd like to recognize Mayor Chad Walton. Thank you for being here tonight. And the town council is well represented with Buck Shelton in attendance tonight, Doug Cardwell, and Dwight Lake. So we appreciate you guys being here as well. Also, I'd like to recognize School Board Member Paula Rakescroft. Thank you for being here tonight. And of course, our Sheriff Sam Page, who was here this evening. So that's all our elected officials that I recognize. So we appreciate you guys being here and participating tonight. I also see Dr. Stover, our school superintendent. Thank you for being here as well tonight, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. I too appreciate Mayodan's hospitality and accommodation and all the attendees that came. I realize that quite a lot of you don't think much of our recent decisions, and that you live in America, so you have a chance to express yourself, and I appreciate the opportunity to represent you, even if you don't agree with those particular decisions. I couldn't help but think, as I looked at the last meeting where we had several hundred folks in attendance, if we could focus all that energy and emotion on our anti-fentanyl or our foster children program, our county would be a lot better. Notwithstanding all of that, thank you all for what you've contributed and for being here tonight. Further comments or anything from the board or Mr. Metzler? Yes, sir. We are going to have a closed session, and if you look at item 11, if I could get somebody to make a motion regarding the same.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion, we go in closed session pursuant to NCGS 143-318.11A1, approve closed session minutes, and with point 11A5, instruct negotiating agents.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Further discussion. Hearing none, all in favor indicate by the sound of aye. Aye. We're going to take 5 minutes, and we will meet back in here for the closed session. Here.